Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to your wealth class on LTV Business and Stockswatch. Abayomi or Babolujo. We go straight to business this afternoon because we got a lot to do. Of course, we're going to be linking up much later with live trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to look at what performances of equities are on this first trading session of this week. But as we speak, so far so good today. The market is still down 0.01%. We already have in the studio the guys from Hantech Global to take us on the forex market for this week. Mike Fuope is already in the house, and Adeboyega Shitu, we are going to be taking them on much later. But quickly, let's look at what is happening in the Nigerian equity market. We will also be looking at the performances of equities generally. But first, we look at key news that hit the market, and you sure need to get informed about all these happenings in the Nigerian equity market. Last week, it was announced that 8 equity had been placed on suspension. Their prices, as we speak, cannot move. Why? According to the information released by the management of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, these 8 companies are yet to release their audit report to the market. These companies are African Alliance Insurance PLC, Cornerstone Insurance, Royal Exchange Insurance, Staco, Standard Alliance, Universal Insurance PLC, Veritas Capital Insurance PLC. All those 7 that I've just mentioned are insurance companies. The only one that is not an insurance company is RT Briscoe PLC. But the information we are able to gather from some of these companies actually indicate that as we speak, they have actually sent their report to NICOM, that is the regulatory authority, because the way things work is that you must of necessity first send your audited report to the regulator. After the approval is when you can now send to the stock exchange and of course the general public. So for African Alliance, for Universal Insurance, Cornerstone, and a number of these insurance companies, the results are ready as we speak now with NICOM. So can we now say that NICOM is responsible? Couldn't just they work on this result within a few weeks or a few days? If they are not going to approve it, let them come out to say they are not approving it. But at the end of the day, the impacts of this will be felt by the investors in some of these companies, because if you have them as at today, you cannot trade on them. But the stock exchange has said as soon as the results of these companies are released to the market, the technical suspension on their prices will be lifted and trading activities will commence on them. Right, we move straight to the reports that were sent to the market last week. Some of these companies, as we're going to be looking at them, had earlier released their audited report to the market, which include their profit after tax, turnover, and other basic statistics. But as at the time the results were released, probably to beat the deadline of the Nigerian Stock Exchange back in June or earlier than that, many of them did not come with a corporate action. When I say corporate action, I mean the dividend, if there's going to be bonus issue, the date of closure, annual general meeting date, and all those other basic information. So we have a few of them, and we are going to be taking time to look at all of them one after the other, though I'm going to move a little bit fast so that we can take them all. The first is Initiates PLC. For the year end 31st of December 2017, a proposed dividend of 4 kobo is being released to the market. But again, as we speak, today is 9th of July. So today, the stock is going to be marked down. The price of that stock is going to be marked down for the dividend of 4 kobo. And it suggests that you cannot participate, you cannot partake again. Meanwhile, for those who are existing shareholders of Initiates PLC, the annual general meeting is July 27th in the city of Port Harcourt Best Premier Hotel. Now, the current price of the equity as at Friday was 72 kobo. Week on week, Initiates PLC recorded a loss of 5.26% year to date. The price of the equity had declined 19.10%. Now, what makes a dividend valuable is not in the figure. It is when you relate, one, the dividend payout with the current price of the equity, and in some cases you relate the dividend with the price and you compare with the performances of other equities either in the same industry or generally in the market. So in the case of Initiates PLC, the dividend yield is 5.6%. And if you want to compare this with what obtains in the money market as interest, well, I think it's a little bit okay. So we move straight to Flour Mills PLC. Many of us will definitely know Flour Mills. They've been there so long. Now, for the period ended, or for the year ended 31st of March 2018, the dividend payout or dividend, the proposed dividend was 1 naira per share. For those who are interested in still getting the dividend of Flour Mills, we still have between now and 3rd of August 2018, or between now and 2nd of August 2018, because on the 6th of August, the price is going to be marked down for this dividend. The annual general meeting is 30th day of August, while the payment day, when you expect the alert to hit your account, or when you expect to receive the alert and the dividend hitting your account, is 3rd of September. Annual general meeting is going to be held in Eco Hotel in Victoria Island. Now, looking at the current price of this stock, which is 30 naira 70 kobo as at today, as at last Friday, it might have changed as at when market opened this morning. Week on week, it has lost 4.06%. Year to date, the growth in price is 5.86%. Dividend yield, that is to say, the value, the worth of the dividend relative to the current price of the equity. Perhaps you are interested. What you stand to get is 3.25%. Honeywell Flour Mills, another company listed in the same industry as Flour Mills, also released its corporate action last week. Honeywell Flour Mills released a proposed dividend of 6 kobo per share. If you are still interested in the dividend proposition of Honeywell, you still have between now and 7th of September to buy into it. Now, because on the 10th of September, the price of the stock is going to be marked down. And if you are able to buy in, that is, if you are interested, and what should make you interested is the dividend yield, which is just 2.97%. Payment date for the dividend is September 21st, 2018. The annual general meeting is going to be at the Civic Center in Victoria Island. The price is 2 naira, or was 2 naira 2 kobo as at last week Friday. Week on week, it gained 11.79%. But if you look at the performance year to date, it is down 3.81%. Resta Express also released its own corporate action. The dividend proposition is 4 kobo. 7th of August is the date of qualification. It closes on 8th of August. So we still have about a month. All right. Now, the annual general meeting date is 30th of August, whereas the dividend is going to be paid on September 6th. And the annual general meeting is going to be held at the Muslim Center here in Lagos at a price of 6 naira 20 kobo. The dividend yield is 0.64%, which is rather low. However, so far so good this year. It has returned 21.09% year to date in price performance, whereas last week alone it grew by 3.33%. University Press, the Ibadan-based publishing outfit, also released a corporate action telling us that the dividend proposition is 15 kobo per share for those who are still interested. And if you ask me, the report from University Press is not that bad because the dividend yield is 5.88%. If you are able to get into this equity at the current price of 2 naira 55 kobo, year to date, investors in University Press would have gained 11.84%, whereas just last week alone there was a growth of 9.84%. In case you are interested, the annual general meeting is going to be held at Kakanfo Conference Center in the ancient city of Ibadan. So those were the reports that hit the market last week. We are, I like to say this, all this that I've said and much more, because again, when you're here, you have very limited time and you have to move fast. But again, why not just get a copy of Stockswatch weekly newspaper? It is just 200 naira. Incidentally, Mike Fowope has started writing again on Forex. So everything we are going to be discussing now, you will also have in Forex, you will have the opportunity of reading on the pages of Stockswatch weekly newspaper. And the numbers that you can see on the screen are the numbers to call in case the the vendors around your area who does not seem to have the newspaper, because we distribute strategically. If we see that a vendor is a debtor and many of them can owe, we no longer give them Stockswatch weekly newspaper. And you see, one advantage of this weekly newspaper, particularly for this week again, is that there is the new market structure that the stock exchange has just introduced. And that is why we've been seeing the market down for for about 2 weeks now, or since the beginning of this month of July. All right. So we are going to be reading the details on the pages of Stockswatch weekly newspaper. We are also going to be telling you the strategy. It is there in the paper. Aside from that, column for kids, column for women, column for entrepreneurs, column for investors, column for money managers, column for everything, columns for retiree. Very important. I wrote those columns myself because you see, life is divided into stage. And now what you just need to ask yourself is that you work in a place. When did you start working in that organization? Do you know that you are not going to be there forever? Have you often asked yourself, when you eventually retire, what are you retiring into? 5 years after retirement, what is going to happen to you? That is why you must get, of necessity, a copy of Stockswatch weekly newspaper, because the motivation and the guide on what to do in retirement, before retirement, and even as soon as you begin to work are all there on the pages of this newspaper. Now, our children from probably next week or even this week will go on holiday. What should they be doing now that they are going to be on holiday? Wake up and play football, or just watch television from morning till evening for more than 2 months? No. What they should be doing are already stated on the pages of Stockswatch weekly newspaper. Please get a copy of the paper. Now, there's going to be a workshop. We talked about this last week on this platform. This Saturday, if we should be charging, I'm telling you, with what we are going to be discussing, we should be charging you 100,000 naira just for 1 day event. That is not a big deal. I've paid $1,000. I've paid $2,000 in America for just 1 day, 2 days event. We are going to be looking at the strategy to profit with the stock exchange new market structure. We might have 2, 3, 4 hours to do justice to that. We are going to be looking at the indexes, right? And we have quite a number of them, the composition and the way to use them. Not just listening or reading about these indicators. What do they mean? How can they act as guide? We're going to be teaching you. When I say these are the stocks to buy, stocks to sell, what are the factors that I saw? What are the indicators? I'm also going to be teaching you much more than that on failing and profitable Forex strategies. Mike Fowope, and I'm sure his other colleagues will be there also to take you through. We are not charging, all right? So for details and time, and because you need to register, as of today, I know quite a number of people have registered. We do not have the luxury of space. Where we're going to use might not be able to accommodate more than 150, 180 people. And we are not going to cram people together. And we are not going to hold this topic again until probably another time in a month to come. So you need to make your call to those numbers now and book a place for yourself. We quickly go through what the market did yesterday, last week on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Generally, the All-Share Index was down 1.71%. Market capitalization also was down 1.70%. Deal was up slightly, 2.20%. Volume was down, value was down. Gainers actually were lower last week when compared with the previous week. Losers were up, which also is a disadvantage, though you will see 15.38% increase. When the market is recording more losers, it is not an advantage to the market in any way. Whereas the number of equities that remained unchanged within the week was just 1.02% decline, so almost within the same figure. So now these are the best stocks for last week, and if you take your time to look at these best stocks as much as we can accommodate here, all right, there are many of that. If you read the Stockswatch newspaper, you see details of all these things there. But the little we can accommodate here, you could see mutual benefits, an insurance company, a penny stock closing at 45 kobo. Multiverse Resources, that stock has been stagnant for almost 10 years on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Currently, when it came to the list that the price of a stock can get to, right, 20 kobo, it moved back to 24 kobo. So last week, it was actually the best gainer. But if you look at it year to date, it's down 52%. Unity Bank, another penny bank stock, selling at 1 naira 11 kobo, gaining 14.43% last week. Year to date, it has gained 109.43%. That should be one of the best equity so far so good in this market this year. University Press, Royal Exchange, C&I Leasing, all these equities are selling below 5%. That is to tell you really that the market is actually weak as we speak. Let me quickly take you through what the strategy is with the new stock exchange market structure. Number one, what the market structure indicates, what it means and what it does is that earlier than now, there are those that are called market makers. They were given preferences when it comes to trading on the floor of the stock exchange, but that has been removed. The playing field is now leveled for all market operators as we speak, right? So, two, liquidity state of the market is bound to be enhanced, and with this new introduction, short-term trading becomes very attractive. So for those of you that are fond of buying stocks and you go to keep it, some of you will even go to keep it in your bank so that you won't sell. It won't pay you so well because you will only have dividend to work on now. But when we meet at that workshop on the pages of Stockswatch Weekly newspaper for this week, we're going to be getting details of this. Let me state this and then we go on break to resume Forex discussion. Now, before now, the highest that the price of a stock can gain is 5%. and then there was a spread of 10%. But now, with this new rule, the highest that the price of a stock can get is 10%. In other words, there is going to be a spread, the possibility of 20% spread. How does that play out? A stock can lose 10% at pre-market open price. When the market eventually opens, which is called continuous open, then the stock can recover from that 10% and go ahead and gain another 10% again, which is the new intrigue. Go and get Stockswatch weekly newspaper. You see what to do there. You cannot be holding on to old strategy when the market is moving forward. Is it possible for you to be looking back and forward and front at the same time? It is not possible. So the market is moving forward. You also should. Go and get the paper, and of course, join us this Saturday, 10 a.m. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere.